You think we get a sponsorship from In-N-Out? I don't know. They're pretty religious. We might get in trouble with them. On the bottom of that cup, it says John 3:16. We need like a Jax 3:16.
I'm more of an Austin 3:16 guy.
Jax 3:16.
And really, that's the bottom line because fucking Jax Falcone said so.
Jax 3:16 is fucking stupid.
Might need a shirt of that.
It's actually better if it's like, from Pulp Fiction, like Ezekiel 25:17. You make it Jax 25:17. He's the shepherd of his team.
Yeah.
Like when he's dropping mad theory, one of us just comes in. Jax 25:17, baby.
I'm trying real hard, Ringo.
Say tight end again.
Say tight end one more motherfucking time. I dare you. I double dare you.
Say first round tight end again.
I might have to make a Jerry curl graphic on Jax.
Oh, Lord knows I'd look good in the Jerry curl.
Yes, you would.
That's a good burger.
They do have a tasty burger.
Sights and sounds and edges found. You will now get down with the Underground. Posted up on the OTC Fantasy YouTube channel. Dynasty Underground is back. I am Trav hosting and West coasting. With me as always, fresh out of the frying pan into the fire tonight. The wise man Jax Falcone. How are you, brother? Rolling in after work, ready to rock on the pod. Happy to do it.
Hey, somebody's got to do it, so I'm ready to rock and roll. Yeah, absolutely. Let's roll.
I love it. I love it. And in a new setting, not in the corner office with the view. He is in the home studio on potentially a camera that was made in the same year as those jerseys that are behind him. We got low-res Joe Quavius Kuvetakis. How are you, brother? We had to bust your balls for the camera. I know that you are in the new studio and you're getting shit together. So it was all in jest, but I had to do it. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great, thank you. Sorry, this is the best I could do. Here's the thing. My car is in the shop. Some dude rear-ended me last week. And so I had
Are those two separate stories?
And so
stick with one story at a time. I'm trying to keep up here.
So I had to Uber home with my whole rig, and one thing I forgot was the camera, which seems important for a video, enterprise.
Yes,
but regardless, we're here. I got the mic, and the podcast listeners won't care.
I mean, I could use a little help with some low res. I mean, people are definitely. I think people tape up a piece of paper over my face when they watch the show for sure. So God bless you.
I'm just gonna come out with some 1998 takes tonight,
nice.
to match my resolution.
Yes,
I love that. Run the damn ball, right? Run the damn ball.
Amen, brother. Amen. Play defense, run the ball.
Blocking.
Running back gets the ball 30 times. We're undefeated.
100%. Defense wins championships. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Excited that you get to be comfortable in the home studio, Joe, and always excited to get back into the lab with the boys. Of course, you can find the audio version of this podcast on the Player Profiler Network as well. Happy to be with our friends over there. And tonight, guys, we got a fun little show. We're going to talk a little bit of free agency, some of these players and potential landing spots. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Senior Bowl, which is where we're going to kick it off, guys. And I have to admit and be honest to the viewers that I didn't get a chance to catch too much of the action in the Senior Bowl this year. But what I will say is that kind of the buzz and the hype around it has felt a little bit lackluster for me, gentlemen, as far as the previous couple of years. I think of some of these wide receiver names that we've heard about burning fools play after play on the practice field. I didn't necessarily see that kind of buzz. And so I'm really curious to hear what you guys are seeing, being a little bit more tuned into what happened at the Senior Bowl as well. Joe, why don't we kick it off with you? Maybe give me a player or something that you saw as well.
Yeah, I think the reason you feel probably underwhelmed is because I think it was a fairly underwhelming group in terms of fantasy purposes. Now, just a quick reminder, Senior Bowl, it's hard on QBs and it's hard for QBs to look good because they're working with a bunch of receivers they've never worked with. Running backs don't really, they're not really tackling and hitting and everything. So running backs, you don't really see the best of them either, especially if they're, tackle breakers or, of the bigger variety. So it's hard for them to really showcase anything aside from like, pass catching prowess, because the practices is really what we're focused on more than the games. Really where you've seen guys shine at the Senior Bowl is, receivers and tight ends in these one-on-one drills, which are set up for receivers and tight ends to succeed. So like last year you had Elijah Arroyo. The year before that you had Roman Wilson. The year before that you had, what was it, Tank Dell? The year before that it was Puka Nakua, right? So we had a couple big hits in Nakua and Tank Dell. Arroyo was definitely at the talk of the town last year. And this year it just feels like nobody picked up that much steam at the Senior Bowl. There are a couple of names that I think are worth talking about. Jax, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say, but I'll say just generally, I've never been like less enthusiastic since I really started following the Senior Bowl about the list of prospects. I've got a handful. Malachi Fields seemed like a clear winner. Josh Cameron seemed like he picked up a lot of buzz. Mike Washington, running back from Arkansas by way of Buffalo, by way of New Mexico, who's like 25 years old, seems like he was the best running back there. And I was talking to our friend Zari Ketzabadian, who was there, and he, more or less echoed that same sentiment. It's like those three were kind of the standouts. And then I think the biggest piece of news, in my opinion, is that Nick Singleton, a running back who's been a Debbie darling for a long time, and that we're very excited to see at the combine, broke his foot. And I think that's kind of like the headline for me. But Jax, why don't you tell? Yeah, are there any names I missed that you want to talk about?
Sure, but I think the Nick Singleton is probably a little bit of red meat. I mean, I think he's a conversation. I think he's going to be a big topic of conversation on this program over the next couple of months until he is drafted later than we wanted him to be. I think the injury, I think him not probably participating at the combine, I think I think we're going to have some conversations about him because I was in love with the profile, from a freshman year standpoint. Sophomore year was a little bit funny. Last year, he was great again. So I think I've been more in on Nick Singleton this whole way until I started to maybe try and put the pieces of the puzzle together and really think about his efficacy as an NFL player. And I'm becoming a little cool on Nick Singleton, and we'll see. That may change, but I think the NFL is also a little cool on him. I don't think they view him as, a down-to-down player in the NFL. That may be wrong. And I may be wrong about them thinking that, but I'm ready to be wrong. I'm ready to really look at this thing and uncover the reality of what Nick Singleton is, because there are some metrics we can look at where we think he's the next greatest running back. You know what I mean? Like that freshman year is like, oh my God, we don't see this in a big program to dominate like this. Pass catching, the whole thing, speed, breakaway. But I think there's some things left to be desired, and we're going to uncover them as we go along. The foot injury will sort of mask some stuff because we're not going to really get to see him at the combine and throughout all these drills. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens in Nick Singleton. I think that's going to be a fascinating subplot all off season.
Yeah. So, just to get people up to speed, basically he had this phenomenal freshman year, which made him the Debbie darling that I was talking about, right? Down sophomore year, awesome junior year. And then he probably should have come out after his junior year. Like, where would you say he would have gotten drafted? Like last year was obviously a very deep running back class.
Right.
But I kind of feel like even in last year's very good running back class, he would have been like in the top 5 or 6 conversation.
Third rounder, yeah.
Had he come out. Now he might maybe still be a third rounder just because of absence of like great running backs in this class, but it feels like he lost a year, and now we're not even going to get, it's a black box prospect in terms of athleticism, unfortunately, and that was going to be his strong suit. We suspect this dude is really fast. I've seen some, miles per hour metrics on him in games that, or that people have clocked more or less. They're like really impressive. I think the thing that I like most about him is, and we were talking about this just when we were in the group text, like how we want to refine our running back views, right? And I was saying, like, listen, we've always historically gone by like, did they hit this threshold of 20 receptions just to like chin the bar as a receiving back and show that kind of upside, right? And I was saying, I don't
It's
even
not
know
good
if I
enough.
buy,
Yeah.
I don't buy into that threshold anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be our threshold test, but it seems like that's being manufactured now,
Yes.
just to improve guys' draft prospects. So 20 isn't good enough for me anymore. I need to see high 20s, 30s, or more.
Or
And in
something
that,
else, right?
yeah,
Like we saw from JT, just gigantic plays in the passing game on a
Mhm.
team that didn't throw the ball very much, or
yeah,
other players have gotten there in different ways. But I totally agree, and I think the thing with Singleton is I've not really done the film work, so and I know Joe, you take a lot of pride in doing that in the off season as well, and I think I'm going to be curious to hear what your thoughts and what my takeaways are in terms of watching him because his missed tackles force per rush, not good. This past year was 15%. If you remember, we were talking 30-40% for some of these, monsters like Scatabo and Genti, where the worst backs were in the 20-ish percent. He's 15 last year, 17 the years before that. So he's basically 15 to 17% missed tackles force. That's not good enough. He was 4.4 yards per carry in 2 of his 4 seasons at Penn State. He was outplayed in that regard by Katron Allen 2 of those seasons. The other 2 seasons, well, he broke big runs. Okay, so he's a big run, big play maker, but not necessarily as trustworthy down to down by the numbers, right? By the numbers. Is that maybe not true? And we're going to discover more things. What I'm going to be interested in with Nick Singleton is I'm going to be wanting to hear the NFL intelligentsia, right? The sort of, the Daniel Jeremiahs and these types of guys. What are they saying about Nick Singleton? Because you'll sort of hear them say what the NFL teams are thinking. And
Mhm.
lastly, I would just say that I'm prepared for him to have a Sean Tucker, Zach Evans outcome.
mm,
I'm not saying that he's that I don't know. I'm just saying I'm prepared for that type of situation where we're like, wait, he went in the 6th round, what? Or whatever the case. It's possible at this point. I'm just very, very open to all possibilities with Nick Singleton.
well,
And
and you mentioned the explosive runs, and
Yes.
that fell off a cliff
Yes.
in his senior season, right?
Yes.
Like non-existent in his senior year. But in that junior year, I was gonna say we're looking for something else. We're looking for receptions. He did get the 41 receptions. So it's
Yes.
like he's the kind of guy that's gonna look good in certain models
Yes.
because of that reception total and because of his standout freshman year
Yep.
and his very good junior year. But he's got these 2 blah years. It's almost like Ollie Gordon last year, where he had, as a
Yeah.
prospect, where he had the lackluster senior year, and everyone kind of just the shine came off. That's kind of what it feels like with Singleton, and we're
Yeah.
saying sort of the same things. Like he should have
Happened
come
to
out the
Chuba
year
Hubbard
before.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So like I think like he's a once blue chip talent, and I kind of don't want to fade those guys, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a little bit of a blessing maybe that he broke his foot, because we're maybe going to be able to get him at a more palatable price since he's a questionable prospect anyway. That's a
That's
lot of words on Nick Singleton, and Trav, I can see
well,
you
no.
itching to talk. So
That's
Yep.
exactly that's what my thought is, as I'm not as educated on these prospects yet. My first thought is guy with pedigree. We kind of like that, and I kind of like to attach to that depending on the cost. Broken foot, not going to be testing. What does that do to his NFL draft, like his draft placement? And then what does that do with his rookie draft placement? Because depending on what we might not like him, but the price might be such that the upside, we're just going to be taking him at where he goes. Like if he's going in like 3rd rounds of rookie drafts and there's probably not going to be many other running backs there or something like that,
Yeah.
we're probably going to be taking him at that price just for the upside shot. So
he's
if
not he's
like that
not falling to
pendulum
the
is
third
going to
round.
swing, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
exactly
he's
sure
got
what
too
that
much
looks like,
name
but
value. So
yeah,
wherever he lands or goes, there's going to be enough name recognition and excitement from what we all the things we just mentioned, the big plays, the catching,
yeah,
that he's going to get steamed up maybe above where we will want him. So we're
right.
going to have to be pretty careful and thoughtful with what our recommendation is with Nick Singleton.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he would have post combine, if he's the athlete I think he is, would have steamed up to
Even more.
RB2 in the
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
I think he
Right.
would have steamed. He couldn't overtake Love, but he
No.
would have steamed up to RB2. And now I think we're going to be able to get him in the. I think he probably then the 70% outcome is he's a late round 1 pick, and we're
Right.
getting like the 50% outcome or the 40th percentile outcome where he's going to be a early round 2 pick most likely. Is kind of how I'm feeling it fall.
Boy, I don't know, man. I think it may be further. I think it's closer to the 3rd round than you might think, Joe.
Not in my drafts.
Well, and I think it's
this is why I love this, Trav, because Joe is Mr. Nick Singleton, and what's crazy is I kind of was too, but I can feel this happening where I'm going to be on the opposite side of this Nick Singleton thing from Joe, and I'll play devil's advocate because honestly, I do have Joe's thought process in my it's part of in my head,
but
I'll just take the
in
opposite.
the range for you. It's just maybe it's if we're looking at the range, it's just a smaller piece of the range for you.
It's just
maybe
because I like to
Joe.
argue, and I'm going to argue with Joe about it. So
that
it's going to
makes
be fun.
Good podcasting. That makes
I'm going to hang my hat. I'm going to hang my hat on those 41 catches in his junior year and hope for the
best. New thresholds, baby.
Yeah.
You're like Mush cheering for Kryptonite. Come on, Kryptonite.
Jax, before we get off Senior Bowl, any other takeaways for you? Players, takes?
Well, there's a couple of guys. Look,
we got more guys to talk about for sure.
Sure. But look, there's no quarterbacks. I mean, we made fun of Diego Pavia on my program. Tune into Undrafted to get some of that. Brett Whitefield had some nice words to say about him for sure. I think the running backs, it's basically Nick Singleton and Katron Allen were the two were the two sort of guys there. But then you look at like Mike Washington, as you point out. I mean, he's obviously did himself really well. This is another one that by the numbers we're not going to like so much. But I wanted to focus on, and you guys can talk about all that if you want. But I want to talk about the wide receivers, where most of the top wide receivers, certainly my first round of wide receivers, none of these guys were projected first round rookie picks for me. None of them. So we'll see if any of them can get the draft capital requisite to be considered. We talk about it every year. Certainly we did so even more so last year, that we're basically fading non-top 50 NFL drafted wide receivers almost by rule. If you want to draft one, you're kind of doing so at your own risk. I mean, we love Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton's still good, but he's still Torrey Horton, and as much as we love him, they got Shaheed now, and good luck. Those are very difficult profiles to actually have a real hit. Puka Nacua is a once-in-a-lifetime player, not a once-in-a-generation, not a once-in-a-decade. This doesn't happen. So that's not going to happen. So, but all that having been said, two players that were just really interesting to me were Ty Montgomery out of nowhere, out of absolute nowhere, and Ted Hurst, who played for an awful Georgia State team or whatever that was 1-11. Both guys afforded themselves really well, and Tyron Montgomery is the one that, I don't know, man. I'm a sucker. I am an absolute sucker for the story. And his story is the one that you want to chase. And there's also a possibility that he's just amazing. Like, it's possible. He hasn't even played football literally started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't know. I don't know. I want to see more. His story is not one that's like, no, listen, he played at a small school. He's not good. He wasn't good. He wasn't playing at a small school because he didn't even try football. Never tried it before. It's like crazy. He's a prodigy. Dominated at a Division III level, which is ridiculous. But at least he did what he had to do, which was dominate. Goes out to the Senior Bowl. You could have told us, if you didn't know anything, you could have said that's the number one guy, and then people would have been like, oh, okay. Like, only because he was people like, shocked, but really he just was awesome there. So there's something there.
Yeah, that one's interesting to me. I've got to take on, Malachi Fields is the guy that everybody was talking about. Notre Dame, 6'4", 222 pounds. My take is this, right? As a wide receiver, he's probably a 4th round prospect, right? Like, I don't even think he might be a day 2 guy, might sneak into day 2, but like with the buzz coming from the Senior Bowl.
There's top 50 buzz.
I'm having a hard time seeing that. I mean, I get it's a joke. You can go down my Twitter timeline making fun of people making Deebo Samuel comps, and I heard them, and so maybe I'm just like rolling my eyes at those. Now this guy, like, gets some separation. He made that one extended catch on that overthrow by Taylor Green that like got a lot of run.
Malachi Fields currently pick 57 in mock draft database consensus big boards. Pick 57.
Wow. Okay. Well,
He's a real boy.
All right. You're talking.
He's a real boy.
Yeah. All right. You're in real time making me change my take. I was gonna say this dude should play tight end. 6'4", 222. He's 13 pounds away from being a viable tight end, and then he gets really interesting to me. But if you're saying he's going top 60 as a wide receiver, then I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, no, I mean he is. I mean, and look, maybe he still could play tight end. I mean, Rondé Gadsden is dope, and he was a former wide receiver. And I don't know. Sometimes these guys with their bodies, you can't. Maybe he's carrying all of it at 222, and there's just not much more there. Or it's like, no, actually, bro, you could put on some weight. I mean, these guys' bodies. I don't know. It's not like I'm not checking.
I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to see a convert in the NFL because like Gadsden had a couple of years at Syracuse to play some tight end.
Yeah.
Whereas this would be like the NFL transition. Reminds me of Kelvin Harmon. Good little name pull from drafts from a few years ago, but they tried. I think that was who it was.
The Eagles N'Keal Harry.
No, they didn't.
N'Keal Harry went to tight end.
He tried a tight end. There was Kelvin Harmon, the guy who was drafted by the Cardinals as a big body wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying anyway. N'Keal Harry specifically is a tight end now. Elijah Higgins too.
Yes, good one. Good pull. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Chase Claypool still should have.
Absolutely should have. Absolutely played like one for sure.
I'm going to have to dig more into the analytics. His dominator rating, what I have is basically a 30% in 24, a 20% in 25. Yards per team pass attempt were 201 and 1.96, which are, those are wide receiver level numbers. So I don't know. Now you're going to make me dig deeper. I didn't realize we're talking about that kind of draft capital, and I'm going to have to really analyze Malachi a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, if he look, we've said it, top 50, and you're on the radar. You got to be in the ball game. Yeah, we got to be considering you.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, boys, is that a wrap on the Senior Bowl stuff?
Hell yeah.
All right, we're going to talk about upcoming free agents. Got a bunch of stuff for each position, including some landing spots and some players that we're going to see. But as Wiggins from the Underground group chat busted my balls for my ad break last week, I'm going to pull out the radio voice, and we'll be back right after this. And we're back to Dynasty Underground. Thank you for listening, and thank you for listening to those messages as well. Boys, we talked about the Senior Bowl. We're going to get into some of these free agents, and I think it's going to be some fun conversation because we have some interesting crops at each position. Running back position is deep. Couple big names at wide receiver. Some buzz happening in the quarterback landscape as well, boys, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the quarterback free agents, and there's one name that's standing out to me that we really, really need to talk about. A little bit of conversation in the group chat about him today as well, about the value. And I'm kind of wondering, boys, is the Malik Willis steam getting a little bit out over its skis here? In that we're seeing in real leagues that we're in, the team that we talk about that we drafted together, really good team. We saw a wild deal today that had a whole bunch of pieces. I'm not going to get too far into it, but Malik Willis was kind of the centerpiece along with Chris Olave in a deal that sent back Malik Neighbors and a bunch of other pieces and stuff. The team that sent Neighbors or that got Neighbors also sent a first. But I ask you guys, like, what are you thinking about this Malik Willis stuff? Because I think we've talked about the fact that if he's starting for an NFL team, he's going to be good for fantasy football. But I think one of my counters previously as maybe a bit of a hater was that he's just not going to have the staying power as a NFL quarterback alongside his rushing, the team's going to give him that. So, Jax, why don't you give us your take on what you're thinking of the Malik Willis hype and where your belief level is at?
Yeah, it was kind of the Justin Fields situation this past year. We were right, and we were right twice, even in the ways that we thought we might be wrong about being right in the first place, to your point.
Whoa.
Some people might have followed that. If they did, they win a prize. But basically, the idea there is that we were right that Justin Fields was going to start, and when he did, he was going to score fantasy points. We were also right that he might not be good, and that was going to hurt him so that he's not playing anymore, and it happened. And he probably should have played more because the team was complete dog shit, and they like gave up on him to go to, ridiculous stuff. But that is a whole nother issue. But that is the fear that you're talking about with Malik Willis. Now, so yeah, it could be a redo of Justin Fields 2025 as Malik Willis in Miami 2026. Absolutely possible. I'd like to think that he's better, believe it or not, than Justin Fields, which sounds like a crazy statement, but he played really well in the moments that we saw him, and he did things I thought with letting the ball go that Justin Fields never does.
Yeah.
Look, Justin Fields may or may not have been a good quarterback, but he never let himself be one. He would just eat it and he just had the, hesitancy to not let it go when he needed to let it go. And you got to let it go, man. You got to let it go. You can't just eat it every time. And I think Malik was getting to second and third reads and making big plays, slinging it around. When he finally got in there against Baltimore in that, what was it, Sunday night game? I think it was Sunday night, Monday night, whatever it was. But he was, they let him go, man. They had him stepping back, just throwing like over and over and over again. He was
awesome.
making plays. And I was like, wow. So when you see that from a guy, against a defense that had been starting to turn the corner a little bit in Baltimore, all those things, right? It's like, I know it's one game, small sample size, but I think we've been seeing that in a few other of his appearances where we're like, we started to see Green Bay trusting him, which I think if one coach trusts him, maybe another one will. And if they do, hey man, this kid's athletically gifted. He seems pretty tough. Like there's a lot there. If he can just process at an above average, like slightly above average, he becomes extremely viable. My whole point with the Malik Willis thing is it's a dice roll. The bottom is crap out, of course, totally. But the top is like top 5 2026 finish at the quarterback position, which is very, very hard to access at that cost.
Agreed. I think as far as the free agent quarterbacks go, he is the most exciting in real life.
Right.
He's the most exciting for fantasy purposes for sure.
Right.
At the same time, his value might never be higher than it is right now, because like even the landing spot can nuke him. Yeah. Right. If you can get a first for him, right? Yeah. If you can get a first for him right now, that's probably
the Jets wouldn't do that though, right? I think it's
you might be able to.
Well, all right. So what I want to see, like, it's good process to just get a first for him now.
Sure,
right?
If you can get a first, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to see him in, he was playing for LaFleur.
Yeah.
I want to see him in that McShanahan tree. And just stay there because we know that
Arizona.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going.
That'd be sick.
That's exactly where I was going with this. It's like, you know what? You know who probably has given up on their quarterback and doesn't have the draft capital to go get a real one this year and would probably be willing to roll the dice and just wait till just same thing.
See what happens, right?
Yeah. Right. See what happens. If he sucks, great. We're going to take a quarterback in the following season. Like, that seems like the perfect landing spot. He already knows the family, knows the system. He's part of the family, right?
Yes.
I mean, there were times when he came in, there was a game in November, it was a Sunday night game. I can't remember who the Packers were playing, but he came in and I was texting you guys, like, I think that he made the offense better, than Love. And he actually was the shot in the arm that they needed in that game. He went down immediately and scored a touchdown. Then Love came back after halftime. They ended up winning that game. But he was the shot in the arm that they needed. So I don't know. I'm very excited about him. I think like process says you just take the first for him right now. That trade that we saw in our league go down, you do that every single day.
Yeah.
But like that just goes to show how high
Yeah.
some people are on Malik Willis, and they are already, I don't know, maybe incorrectly projecting that upside as reality, which is, remains to be seen. But no, I'm pumped. I felt like I was driving the bandwagon, and then I
Yes.
saw that trade. I was like, oh wait, I'm not nearly the highest on Malik Willis.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically got him. Well, what did he get? Like Michael Wilson, Olave, a first.
A first and a third.
We gave up Jaden
for
Higgins and Gadsden and Neighbors. So yeah,
and Arroyo. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an
Yep.
interesting trade for sure.
For sure. And you can
but
get that
I
first
think
right now, Joe. You can get that first. I'm on the Cognoscenti right now having a look. 3
Yeah.
days ago, somebody got a 2026 first. A couple days before that, somebody got a 27 second. There's
Yeah.
Malik Willis in a second for Baker Mayfield. And so I think the first value is kind of there. It's kind of there for sure right now. And I think I'm taking that because I just think the likelihood that he doesn't give you kind of that elite outlook year over year for the next 3 to 5 is more likely than the fact that he does. You know what I mean? I think it's more likely that he flames out than he does realize that upside for a sustained stretch. Like he might do it in 2026 because some desperate team is going to give him a look. But I think outside of that, LaFleur system is a big factor. And if he goes to a dumpy play caller, it might not look so good.
However, you don't have to, in my opinion, you don't have to worry about that yet because we're still 8 months away from football. And so you can actually buy now and sell for more soon. Not maybe, for sure. He's going to sign, and when he signs, that's going up. And then when everybody realizes he signs, and they're like, wait, he's really a starter? It's going up again. It's like you watch this keep, trade, cut, or the OTC, huh? OTC value go. It's going to go higher from here until he plays, and it could go up again. If he plays well,
I think so
it could
too.
go
I
up
think so
again.
too.
Unless he signs with the Jets or the Dolphins, in which I actually think people would get down on him. But like, I think there are other landing spots. Yeah, there are other landing spots where it's going to go up. It's more likely that it goes up than it goes down.
The Jets hired Frank Reich, I think, right? Is that right?
As the OC, yeah.
Okay.
But there is those, like the Dolphins connection is so real with Jeff Hafley, the DC going in there and stuff like that.
I know.
Like they're going to pay him. And like, I'm not optimistic about what that offense is going to look like without McDaniel. So interesting.
We'll see.
Like just that value fluctuation on Malik Willis over the next like 4 months is going to be a very interesting watch.
Very volatile with spikes in both directions is possible.
But even if he's starting for the Jets, which is not going to be everybody's preferred landing spot, they'll be like, Malik Willis he really happened. It's really
it's better than Fields, Garrett Wilson, Taylor.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, you know what? I just talked myself into it.
Yeah, Joe's down. Joe's in for sure. Send him to New York, boys.
Quick aside, I'm sorry I know this is off script, off topic, but the LaFleur signing in Arizona actually kind of got me bullish on Marvin Harrison. I'm throwing offers out for Marvin Harrison. I think that's.
I'm looking into that entire offense. That entire offense. I like a LaFleur there, and I know who was the OC hire. It was less than inspiring, I believe.
I don't remember.
I should know this
if it even happened.
Yeah, it's going to be a LaFleur offense. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like it's LaFleur is going to take over for that, and I'm optimistic that this offense is going to look pretty nice next season. Going to dive into. Yeah.
If they could trade for Kyron, it would really be perfect.
Or Corum.
Yeah. Or Corum. Or Jarquez.
Any of the above would really help us out.
It'd be great. Trey Benson would like it though too. I'm stoked about that. Okay, so Daniel Jones, guys, is very interesting because I think he played his way into another starting job, potentially even back with the Indianapolis Colts, which I think is probably best case Ontario for one Danny Dimes. What are you thinking, Jax, as far as Daniel Jones? Like, are you reinvigorated a little bit with him as a fantasy option as maybe your QB2 and Superflex?
I'm thinking that the trade I made with Joe, giving him Daniel Jones and getting some sort of like single first back, felt so stupid after I did it, and Daniel Jones was like in the MVP conversation, and now feels so smart that it.
I gotta look at
crapped
that
out.
trade now. Oh my god, I'm so mad.
It's
about
just
that
funny
trade.
how it is because I was like, fuck, I fucked up, and now I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't fuck up. But
Mhm.
that's how a trade can be. So I look, he was Daniel Jones happened is what happened, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we were like, oh,
Shane
he's good.
Steichen kind of happened alongside that though too.
Yeah,
You know.
he's good. He's not good. I mean, and he shouldn't have been playing hurt like that. I guess. I mean, it's a terrible situation. Hating the Colts is easy for me because, of course, they don't vote my Bill Belichick's into the Hall of Fame. They
Here
accuse
we
us
go.
of letting out 0.1% of the air in a ball, which is the most beta shit you could ever do. And their fans cheering on. So all Indianapolis Colts fans, workers, people associated, sponsors can all eat it.
All
That's my
right.
Daniel Jones take.
Hashtag analysis, baby.
Yeah, that's my Daniel
I just
Jones.
pulled up the trade just to hate myself. So I got Daniel Jones and Jalen Warren for. I gave up Milrow, a late 26 first. I think it's the 110, and a 27 second from a pretty good team.
There we go.
So yeah, that one hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
But anyways,
He's gonna
You
start
got Daniel
somewhere next
Jones.
year.
You got Daniel
I think-
Jones.
yeah. I think he's getting re-signed by the Colts.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get a little bit of a discount on him with the injury.
Is
and
that in the
everything.
Underground League?
Yes.
And then I went and I traded maybe that very pick with that pick with JJ McCarthy for Jackson Dart.
All right, rub it in more. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well played. We get
Anyways.
it, Jax. You're good at this. We get it.
Or Rashi Rice too. Rashi Rice, but whatever.
At the time, I needed a Daniel Jones. Anyways,
Yeah.
I think he's getting re-signed. They're going to run it back most likely, and we're probably going to see some mishmash of Anthony Richardson or what's the Notre Dame quarterbacks?
Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard. Yes, that guy.
All right,
I
guys.
think we're going to see some combination of them.
So
Does
Malik
that mean
Willis,
we might get Anthony Richardson starts?
Yeah. Last chance.
Potentially.
Last
Dude,
chance.
Are you kidding
I
me?
ask you, boys. Malik Willis signs in Miami. Daniel Jones re-signs with Indy. Who do you choose?
Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Really, that easily?
Easily.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is just a report, guys, but I thought it was interesting for us to talk about because it was a wee bit of a puzzler. And I saw the report that Kirk Cousins is likely to be released by the Atlanta Falcons. And you guys questioned me having this on the show sheet. And so I looked before the show, and there are very reputable sources that are sharing this out. And I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about because it seems like a no-brainer for them to keep Kirk Cousins with the injury to Michael Penix Jr., the inconsistent play from Michael Penix Jr. You guys mentioned to me that Kirk Cousins definitely did pick up his play towards the back half of last season. And so what do we think about this move? Because he would be I think he'd be a bit of a commodity out there. I think about a reuniting with Minnesota, a couple other places that probably would love to have him as their quarterback. So Jax, you were puzzled too. So why don't you kick it off and then fire to Joe?
I mean, maybe he could reunite with Stefanski in Atlanta. That'd be a spot where he could.
Imagine.
Hold on. Yeah, this is what I don't understand. I mean, the place that needs him most is the place with the broken Penix. They've got it's.
You have to keep all of your remedies open when there is a broken Penix because you can't.
That's right.
You can't limit your options for treatment. You
can't put the Pitt Salve on there either.
Sometimes you just need a little bit of Kirk Cousins ointment, and
you gotta ask your cousins for help.
Yep.
Got to get them to spread it on for you.
I think that's how the Penix breaks in the first place, but I'm not an expert on that.
Maybe.
But I think he's the perfect. We were talking about perfect bridge quarterback to get to Penix again, if that's even the answer anymore. I mean, Penix is talk about a fall from grace, right?
Yeah.
Not only
not
that,
even sure if it was that high of a fall though either, right? I don't.
Well, I mean, he was a top 15 dynasty quarterback.
Totally. I don't think perception on him as an NFL quarterback was that high.
No. Yeah, no. I'm talking about what people paid startups and whatnot.
When you take into account the cap hit Trav, I think we looked it up before the show. Post June 1st, it was a $22 million dead cap hit with a $2 million cap savings. I mean, that's not enough to go get another quarterback. The only reason I can think of the Falcons actually wanting to do that is if they are very intentionally tanking and they've already given up on Penix and know that Cousins isn't the future, and they're vying for a quarterback in that 2027 class that everyone's all excited about. But why would they do that when they were literally just like on the cusp of making the playoffs just a year ago? I don't think it matters if it's Penix or Cousins. I think they're winning somewhere close to the same number of games. Cousins was viable down the stretch, if not inspiring.
They could have
So
made the
like,
playoffs this year if
no, that's
whatever.
what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, this year, they were good.
Sorry, I'm calling it last year already, even though the season is technically not concluded
Joe
yet.
moves on quickly.
I'm already in the 2026 season.
He moves on quickly. It's fine. Yeah. And I think, like, why wouldn't you explore trade options to maybe get an asset back? Maybe you eat a little bit of that cap still and get something back from another team, maybe like a 4th round draft pick or something like that. Like, I don't know. I think
maybe I'm just the only guy who's still cheering for a team this season.
Wow. Wow.
It's possible.
Man, I'm still torn as to whether I want them to win or not. And it all centers around you.
I know with my insufferable ass, it's probably not that easy to cheer for.
It's really hard for me to it's hard.
Right.
I don't know if I want to like see you and support you through the pain or if I want to have to suffer through the glory that you're going to have. So
no, you
TBD.
want me to lose. I know it. And no, look, and I respect that. And that's the only
I love you. I'm not, I am honest when I say I'm not sure.
But to know me is to love me. To love me is to hate me. So of course you do.
I for one am rooting for the Patriots because the Eagles won last year. The Patriots win this year. That means that the Raiders win next year. Just for all our favorite teams to win 3 years in a row, right? That's how it works.
Seems
Mendoza,
legit.
baby. He's coming.
Seems legit. Okay, boys, we're going to talk about some of these running backs here because this crop is nice, and I think we got to dig into them, and there's a bunch of landing spots as well, so this is going to be good. And at the top of the list is one Breece Hall from said New York Jets, and like I said, he leads a really good crop of free agents. I would love to see him land with an innovative play caller, which is, I think, something that he's lacked for his entire career with the Jets, and I think he's really kind of come through the debris on that and shown pretty well for what's been a shit organization. But Joe, what are you seeing and thinking about his free agency? You know that I like me some Breece Hall. I'm wondering where you're sitting now at this point.
I think he's likely getting tagged, and I've got sort of mixed emotions about that. We were just talking about Frank Reich going to the Jets as their OC, and last time we saw Frank, well, actually I shouldn't say last time, but when he was with the Colts, obviously he got that first rushing title out of JT. So, we've seen him paired with a very good running back before. Obviously Hall's a different breed than Jonathan Taylor is, but I don't know. I've got kind of mixed emotions. I think that team is such a catastrophe that it would just be a tragedy to get another year wasted of Breece Hall. And if they're not in contention and not going to work out a long-term deal with him, like what's the point? But I don't know who else they're going to tag. They already traded away all their good players at the deadline last year, so he's seems like the most likely candidate to tag, and a fan favorite, and probably an important piece of that team because they don't have another running back consequence, in my opinion.
No, they've got Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. Those are great players. Hopefully Aaron Glenn is listening. Hang on to those guys.
Yeah.
Let Breece Hall walk. You don't need a guy like that tying you down with all of his demands of, gaining all these yards and whatnot. No, you don't. Barrel it up the middle with Braylon Allen. You'll be just fine. You know what I mean?
I think so.
I really don't want to see
1998 takes. 1998 takes.
That's right. I really don't want to see Breece Hall back in New York because they're so dysfunctional. I think there's going to be a coaching change. You just don't want to see him on a franchised 1 year deal, a tag 1 year deal with a coaching change. That sounds awful with no quarterback. Like that's the stone worst that you can imagine for Breece Hall, the run out. I mean, especially when there's so many teams Minnesota, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston would be Houston, right? Washington, right? There's so many great spots for him to land that they all are fantastic. Even, the ones that aren't as good are fine. So yeah, I don't want to see him back with the Jets. So let's just hope and pray. But I think he's a screaming buy. Yeah. As is the next guy on the list, Ken Walker. I know we can just talk about them both in tandem. And to me, maybe even Travis Etienne too. I don't know if he's in a similar space, but I think Ken Walker is a buy because he has the perfect spot of, even if he stays where he's at, he's good. And if he goes anywhere, he's going to go someplace of his choosing, so to speak. So Ken Walker, even almost more so than Breece Hall, though I think Breece Hall is just that much more dynamic, especially in the pass catching role, especially if he can land someplace like the Chiefs,
Yeah, I agree with that take. And I actually place Walker in the near term higher than Hall, even though I like Hall, the talent, better, just because, Walker's worst case scenario is he stays in Seattle, or I shouldn't say worst case. One of the poor case scenarios is he stays in this great team.
The static case. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With Zach Charbonnet injured to start the year for sure. So he's getting the lion's share of the carries. And we've seen through these playoffs what that looks like for Kenneth Walker. And that's
really good.
Super, super valuable asset. That's what we've been screaming for the last 2 years and haven't gotten it. So if he goes somewhere else, presumably he's going to get more carries, or if he stays where he's at, he's going to get more carries than he saw in 2025. So that's why I like that better. Breece Hall, I can't buy him right now because of the unknown. Like if he stays on the Jets,
I can buy him. I can do it.
It's the stone worst outcome staying where he is, and that's also the likeliest.
It's kind of rock
bottom. Is
it
the likeliest?
I do. I think it's the likeliest. Yeah. Why wouldn't they franchise tag him? Who else are they just tagging? They traded away every other valuable asset.
I mean, they don't have to tag somebody. Yeah.
Especially if he's bro.
I think for a team that needs to inspire their fans in any way possible, though, it probably would be a smart move to bring the only good player that's on that roster back, besides Garrett Wilson. Sorry, I think. I hate it. I think it's fucking awful, and it shouldn't happen. I think on the Kenneth Walker thing, the reason why I might hesitate to buy, or maybe why the buying price might be a little bit heftier to the point where I don't know if we're getting that discount, is I think the Zach Charbonnet injury kind of solidified that if he stays, his situation is going to be better than it was this year. You know what I mean? So I think even his fallback option is better than what we might have thought it was a few weeks ago. So that I think anybody holding him right now sees that, and they might be steaming that price up a little bit more because they know that regardless of what his option is, he's not going to have that, Zach Charbonnet tying him down in the Seattle backfield for at least 2026. And so I would say be a little bit cautious on the price on that as you're buying a running back still. But if you can get what you feel is a little bit of discount on what I feel is massive, massive upside, no matter where he is, I think you definitely take that bite on Kenneth Walker for sure.
I would add, I think that, second order effects here because of the Charbonnet injury that we didn't talk about, but George Kalani is probably a pretty good buy right now that you can get for a lot cheaper just in that Charbonnet role, or maybe a lead back to start the season if Walker does walk.
I'd be careful about buying that right now, though, because there's so much time for them to add off of the running back scrap heap and through the draft, right? I think there's a very high likelihood that Holani is not the number 2 on that team in 2026. I think there could be somebody else brought in. But maybe. I think the price is cheap as hell.
Any running back on a 53 with a little bit of potential upside, especially if Walker somehow goes somewhere else and all of a sudden he's part of a two-headed monster. So there's some upside, downside. I think with when you talk about buying Holani, again, it's the same type of thing as we said with Jarquez last week. You're just throwing him into a bigger trade. You're not going out and saying, hey, what would it take to get George Holani? They're like, a third? And you're like, you know what I mean? Don't do any of that stuff. Yeah, no. Nobody's going to just take a fifth for him or whatever. So, you just got to get him on your roster.
I agree. That being said, Trav, what's the intelligentsia say about Kenneth Walker's price right now? Because I imagine it's skyrocketed throughout these playoffs.
Yep, but what's it actually called?
Cognoscenti.
The cognoscenti.
Just busting your balls. Just busting your balls. Let's find out.
Well, he's gone up on some other spots big time. He's up to RB18 on unnamed competitor. But but
Hold on, I'm just getting to it here.
I'm feeling that's what I'm doing, but it's
That's
true.
fucking
No,
awesome.
but we talked about it.
Running
I
back
talked to
18 for us.
18.
Running back 18 on
Same.
so right about the same.
Yeah. But I think
But better.
that price is reflecting, it going up. So,
Yeah.
I always
It
say
will
the
go up.
historical data is moving up. So therefore, most of the trades that are being happening right now are actually at a higher valuation than that because it's dragging him up. So
So
I hope you guys understand how averages work, but yeah.
Sure. What does that cost in draft picks though? What are we talking about? That's a late first?
Yeah. Right now,
Yeah.
I think when we talk about where he's going, I think he is a late first, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I see a trade made within the last week for Tank Dell in a mid first for Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker in a 26 mid second for Breece Hall. That's interesting considering
Whoa, that's very
topics of
interesting.
conversation. Yeah. I think Kenneth Walker in season long leagues next year is gonna be bordering on kind of like early second round pick. He's gonna have the full workload, and people are gonna be really excited about that explosiveness with a full workload. And so I think that steam is gonna get heavy on Kenneth Walker for sure.
I think it's gonna get there on Breece Hall too. And I'm hoping that I'm right about that. I'm hoping that you're wrong about them franchising Breece Hall, because that's really the only sort of prison he can be put in. Other than that, he really gets to choose his own adventure. And there's so many teams that are running back needy, and I just would love to see him on a good offense. It would be
that would be the most missionary outcome possible. Is Breece Hall getting franchise tagged by the Jets?
I've just emotionally prepared myself for the letdown that Breece Hall's career is never going to be what it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You might be right too. You might be right. Travis Etienne is very interesting too, boys, because like while the other two, I have ultra confidence in them if they go to another spot. I'm not sure my confidence level is at the same height for Travis Etienne.
I agree with this.
Love for him to go back to Jacksonville, but if he goes to another team to be like that full, or who thinks he's going to be that full workhorse, granted, we saw him do it like a few seasons ago, I think in the Doug Peterson offense where he took 200 plus carries, and he's been more of that than we thought he could be coming out. But I still think the injury history, and I don't want him to be the guy who's taking on that much work necessarily. And so I'm a little bit, to take one of your terms, Jax, dubious of Travis Etienne outside of Liam Cohen's comfy confines.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 1,000%. I don't know, Joe, this feels like your lane because this is your boy, not Travis Etienne, but Bashal Tutin. So I feel like you're going to have some biased takes about Travis Etienne needs to go to some other team for no other reason, that I can think of. I can't think of any reason why he should go to another team. Just randomly, I think he should go to some other team. Oh, wait. Bashal Tutin would be fucking elevated. So this is a Bashal Tutin take from Joe Kuvetakis that I'm filibustering. So go ahead, boy.
I actually wish you could see my screen right now. My note is my Tootin bags want him elsewhere for sure.
Yeah.
Mine too, Joe. Mine too. Yeah.
Read me like a book. I'm thinking Texans. I'm thinking Texans for ETN. I think that's
fine.
But
I mean, they threw the ball to. Yeah, I guess they threw the ball to running backs a little bit more with Woody.
A little bit more.
Okay.
I don't know. He's a pretty big franchise tag candidate as well. After they declined, if I'm not mistaken, they declined his 5th-year option.
I think so.
Right? Yeah, and so, but I don't know who. And I'm obviously not thinking about everybody on defense. Anybody else they might want to retain. Yeah. They also have an absence of a first-round draft pick this year, so I don't know.
Gotta get Travis Hunter.
Bit of a hole at wide receiver now too.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Yeah. They've got plenty of guys.
Stocked at corner. They're stocked at corner.
Stocked everywhere. Hey, listen though, but I think Travis Etienne is a different case too, because he gets a little bit of a muddy water in Jacksonville too, with the aforementioned Bashal Tutin, who would be in year 2 and who started to gain a little bit of favor, and who Liam Cohen sort of, brought in as his guy. So there could be a little bit of that sort of, 1A, 1B rather than sort of, ETN being the clear lead back. So, that's not a great spot for him either. I mean, it is a good spot if you tell me he's going to get 70-30, but I think it could creep more painfully close to 50-50 in that offense. So, Etienne could use a change of scenery, and Houston or something like that sounds great to me. I'd love to see him on turf like that. Yeah, indoors type of thing where he can just be fast and healthy. He doesn't feel like an outdoor northeast type of guy.
Dallas?
Like Dallas would be great. I think Dallas would be another
lots
good
of pass
spot.
catching would be had there for sure.
Yep.
You think that Dallas is going to finally start spending on running backs again? I don't think so.
Probably
After
not.
Zeke, yeah.
Who knows?
And then Javante's pretty good too. So I mean, who
Totally.
knows?
Yeah. Was he on a 2-year or a 1 year? Like
I think he's
got
I think it's one more
It was
year.
a 2-year. Yeah, he does have one more year. He's not on this list of free agents, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's got one more year.
So I got 2 more names. I'm going to throw them out both at once, boys, and then we're going to move into the wide receivers after. But I got to talk about these guys because these 2 guys have won me over the last couple of seasons, and I think they're going to have significant roles for some team in 2026. And those guys would be Rico Dowdle and Tyler Algier. Both kind of big, kind of bruiser profiles that I think can do more than that. We saw Rico Dowdle absolutely smash this season with the Panthers. He had 2 30-point PPR games in a row, and he had another 28+ point PPR game. And then Tyler Algier was so good that they had to work him into that offense along with Bijan to start trying to get Algier those 10 carries a game, which he was pretty productive on, was taking some of that goal line work earlier in the season as well. And so I think these guys are going to be factors for us in fantasy, and I think their lack of name value probably keeps them a little bit of a value on the draft board as well. But curious what your guys' stance are on the players themselves after me saying that they won me over a little bit more this season.
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I completely agree. I mean, Rico Dowdle, hear me out. Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. No shit, eh?
I think it'd be a great compliment to Javonte Williams. I mean, he blew me away with what he did this year. I don't know how sustainable that is. It was kind of a hot streak. He kind of took over and then also took the back seat again too. Let's not forget like that last quarter of the season as well. I don't, Carolina makes sense for him to resign depending on how they're feeling about Jonathan Brooks' health and his
hometown too. Hometown for Rico Dowdle too.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That could entice him to sign for less. But
I thought he was Canadian with how much you pimped him.
Yeah,
Rico Dowdle.
Regardless, both guys you talked about have earned themselves a new contract somewhere, and they're going to get signed. And so I don't know. It's a little bit of a guessing game right now. The thing is, at running back, there's just so many more quality running backs than there are available spots, right? So what we want and what I find my brain doing is just like, where can he go where he can be one of 2, right?
Bingo.
And there aren't many places, right? And that's kind of what we want. That's how we want it all to shake out. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, like that's Houston. Right. And I was thinking about that very thing when I was looking at this list, and there's another player on this list that I think is drastically undervalued given how awesome he was this year, and that's Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah.
Kenneth Gainwell was fucking dope playing, this sort of hybrid role.
How about 5 years too early on that guy?
Dude, I said it. I was like, this guy's dope. I mean, I've always thought he was dope, but I did understand that he was probably never going to get the full workload. But what about a Kenneth Gainwell, Tyler Algier package in Kansas City?
Talk dirty to me. Talk dirty
in Kansas City.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
They
want to use the multiples. Yeah, they don't pass to running backs that much, so we'd want to see an increase in that.
Well,
they did a little
Jarek
bit.
McKinnon role.
Yeah, for sure.
They're gonna have a new OC. Sure. Yeah, I'm saying let's do it.
And Gainwell, dude, guys, I've been making some social graphics for the team for the OTC accounts, and I did some top 10s, and Kenneth Walker pops up on a lot of the running back top 10, or Kenneth Gainwell pops up on a lot of the efficiency top 10s.
He was
really
dope.
Fucking good. Yeah.
Really especially down the stretch. It kept getting better, and then it's sustained. Yeah.
That catch that he made in the final game was insane as well.
Good.
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, he's an awesome football player, and I'd love to see him on a great team. I mean, he was doing all that with Aaron Rodgers. I'd love to see him with Patrick Mahomes in the 2-minute, and bro, he'd be a special little player, especially in a part-time role on an explosive offense where his sort of limited touches can see a lot of value.
Well, and that's a staff that could turn him into more of a weapon than a position, right? Because I think he's probably more of a weapon than just a running back. Great receiver, blocks like a Eagles fan. He started out with the Eagles. Great blocker for his size too. Like he puts his nose in there, even if he gets run over sometimes, for sure.
I think my dream landing spot for Gainwell is somewhere like Buffalo, where we've seen a proclivity to throw to a pass catching running back. And I think we all have concerns over like James Cook's increasing workload. So it feels like Buffalo was a prime landing spot for one of these free agent backs, one of these lesser free agent
He can
backs.
play the Ty Johnson role.
Like a better Ty
exactly.
Johnson is what I was thinking. Yeah,
Totally.
Yep, I like that. Okay, boys, wideouts. There's some meat here. There's some meat here, and I'm excited. We talked a little bit about Dallas. I think the belle of the entire free agent ball for me is George Pickens, especially after what he did this season. Talking about those top 10 lists, guys, George Pickens was in the top 10 list of the yards after catch per game. And so I think that was a bit of a different facet. I think Dallas used him in a really, really nice way to see him progress. And so I think I'm more bullish now on George Pickens than I was on him going into free agency last year, because I've seen him do more now than I saw him do in Pittsburgh. And I'm pretty excited about seeing him get onto a team that can unlock that. Now, I didn't put generalized landing spots in for the wide receivers here, boys, because any team could be a wide receiver landing spot. But talk to me about George Pickens and whether you'd like to see him come back to Dallas or if there's any other places you'd like to see him go. Joe.
Well, I think that we talked about this in season quite a bit. Do we even want him to leave Dallas?
No.
I think I want
No, we
him to
don't.
stay in Dallas. I think that's the perfect place for him.
Yeah.
We talked about Dallas being, NFC's version of the Bengals, right?
Yep.
Consolidated target share, target tree. You got CeeDee Lamb being the Jamar Chase, kind of lining up all over the field. And then you got a true X, T. Higgins, George Pickens, who, we saw used in a bigger variety of ways this season. So I don't want him going anywhere. And, not to be a wet blanket and saying everyone's getting franchise tagged, but this guy's getting franchise tagged. They'd be dumb not to.
Yeah, they'd be done. That one I actually would agree with for both team and, well, of course, for player, at least it makes some sense for him to be successful there. Whether or not, he would rather sign for a fucking dump truck load of money somewhere else, of course. Monetarily, it's not best for him. But I think, if you could just say where's a good place for him to play football, Dallas is certainly it.
But I mean,
and they could say, I was going to say they could say he could just parlay another good season in Dallas to that boatload of money too, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he'd be clamoring for a contract immediately or a trade.
Yeah, but a top 5, franchise tag is top 5 at your position, right? Top 5 wide receivers are paid pretty well. I don't think he's going to be mad at like $27
but it's a 1 year.
million.
It's a 1 year deal. You're playing if you get injured, if something happens, you don't want to be playing on the tag. It's good money, but it's risky. Yeah, it's risky.
Yeah. I think the prospects are looking good for him. He's in the top 15 of my Dynasty rankings, boys, and I think he sits in there for you guys right around.
Pretty close.
Absolutely.
So good on him. Good on him. Okay, boys, let's get a little lunch pail happening here, huh? Let's talk a little bit about the lumen scale tonight, the lunch pail scale, huh? So for any of our listeners, we've been conceptualizing. I'm sure if you've listened to even one episode, you know that the lunch pails are a big thing for us, which would be these white skill position players. And so we've talked about the lunch pail scale and where guys land on the lunch pail scale, but we've talked a little bit more now about formalizing the lunch pail scale. And so, Joe, I'm going to get you to chime in here because you explained it really good, but we're essentially, it's going to be measured in lumen. And so higher
like
lumen.
A light bulb.
Yeah. So higher lumen is higher on the lunch pail scale. Right. We have some tags that we're going to tag.
It's so
guys
white.
As.
It's so bright. You can hardly see it.
Exactly.
That would be the way to say it.
So Joe, with me kind of laying some foundation on the lunch pail scale, I invite you to give a little bit of your take, and then Jax, we can chime in with add-ons there.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, in terms of white players, we have just perceptions that may or may not be justified. But what I want is for that dude, to be hard, right? What's a hard white, right? That's like 15,000 lumens, right? That is a bright light, right? That's what we want is 15,000 lumens, right? That's
These are
a
like
solid.
your Scadabos, your
Yeah,
Your
Edelmans,
Wittens.
yeah, your
your
Kittle,
Jason
right?
Wittens, your Kittles, your guys that are not afraid to get
Oh, I
dirty and
see.
stick their nose into the pile.
No, wrong
You
guy.
know?
Not a Witten. Witten's a pasty white.
Yeah, no, he's
See,
like
I
a
think he'd be
9,000 lumens.
Okay,
he'd be about in the middle of the scale because he still carried a fucking serious lunch pail out there, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
no,
Yeah. But I
serious
mean,
lunch pail, but like it wasn't an undeniable light, right?
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
So I need like lots of lumens. So like, Alec Pierce, he was like hovering around 3,000 lumens
He was
for
pretty low lumen.
his entire career. But in a contract year, all of a sudden, like someone hit the dimmer switch the opposite direction, and he like shined to like 11,000. So do I believe it? I know how dim it can get. He's got a lunch pail. I don't know if I'm buying a big contract for Pierce, and I don't think he should go anywhere else because I don't think he's going to get used in the same way that he's been utilized in that system and in Indianapolis. So they should probably re-sign him. He kind of proved to be the wide receiver one-ish. There's a case to be made that it was still Pittman, but I think having both of those dudes, and I know that there are going to be some salary cap constraints to keeping both of them. But it seems like that's the best case outcome for him. I just haven't seen him succeed enough, and the only time I saw him succeed was last year. So I want the situation to remain as close as possible if I'm a Pierce owner to make sure that I continue getting that return.
As a Pierce manager, obviously you want to see him with someone who throws the football down the field. I mean, I know that goes without saying, but I would imagine that's the type of teams that would be looking at Alec Pierce. He played really well. I don't really think there's a ton of ceiling with his prototype. Not the lumen scale prototype, the downfield MVS, prototype, but he can actually catch the ball unlike MVS. But these downfield guys don't get a ton. Even the best one in the league is probably Jamison Williams, and he can disappoint, on a weekly basis, and he's in a dope offense. So I guess what I'm saying here is I think there's going to be plenty of suitors. It's going to be where he ends up landing as to whether or not he even really has any residual value, I guess, for that manager. I'm dubious.
I don't know, man. Like, I think no matter where he lands, he's going to get way oversteamed versus what the production is going to end up being.
That's
I put
what
out
I'm
a tweet.
Yeah.
I put out a tweet today that said, "Call me crazy, but I just feel like Alec Pierce is going to be one of those big flame out free agents who gets overpaid in free agency, coming off one big season where he hadn't had that big season. He was a wind sprinter previous to that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so now he's going to come in. He's going to get paid." Potentially by a shitty team that doesn't have a good play caller in offense. He's going to come in. They're going to be treating him like an alpha, and he's not an alpha wide receiver, in my opinion. And so I think there's going to be mega disappointment to the point where once he sells, if anybody in your league is getting a little bit excited about him, you need to sell him to that guy. And if you can get a second round pick for Alec Pierce, I think I'd be taking that, boys.
Like, I would just ask honestly. Sorry, go ahead, Joe. But I would just, you can answer this after. I mean, where do you think he can go? Like, just name a team. Like, I mean, I'm saying this to the proverbial audience, but like, pick your team and then be like, okay, what is his role in that team? Not easy.
Well, I think it's going to be a deep target. So last year, he was number 1 in air yard share. He was number 2 in ADOT at 19 yards per game. That is not, we want our receivers to be in the 10 to 15 range for ADOT, right? So just those 2 data points alone stream outlier season. And I know the season before he caught some deep balls from Anthony Richardson as well. It had some big splash plays, and it seemed like they were using him in a bigger variety of ways this past season. But he was still like a 19-yard ADOT.
Yeah,
that's a hard way to make a living.
Yes,
right. He was number 3 in deep targets, and so when a dude has an outlier season like that, it's like, okay, 3 years of unusable, wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 7 territory, and then 1 year where he just jumps up and all of a sudden became consistent. Is that consistency, or is that just running hot? And I tend to think it's the latter. So wherever he goes, it better be with a dude with the big arm. And I don't know, you kind of just hope they use him in a wider variety of ways. But I don't know. It just feels like a flash in the pan, outlier season.
It feels like that so much to me. And it's not even because he's not good. It's just because of the
he's
role
great
he
at what he
plays.
does.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah, I think he'll be more valuable to a real team than he will be to a fantasy team, which we've said many times before. By the way, I don't know if you need to get on some of these other wide receivers, but I can't wait to get to the next position, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Not missionary.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, a couple more wide receivers here, but just kind of lastly on Alec Pierce. Of course, the listeners must be wondering. Still more to come on the old lunch pail scale. We're still workshopping some things.
I will
as
say I
you can
see the
imagine.
lumen scale differently in my mind than you guys are describing it, but we'll.
That's why we need to do more workshopping, put things on paper. But we wanted to kind of get the listeners always give us good ideas. The underground group chat always gives us good thoughts and ideas. And so I think we might just get some enhancements to what the final product is by doing this. And so
I see a high lumen score being like a Matt Hibner. You know what I mean?
No, high lumens is bright though. Like
bright white.
Hard white. A hard white versus soft white.
I'm talking he's extremely white. That's
right.
a high lumen to me.
You're looking at
low lumen.
You're looking at tone. You're looking at tone. I'm looking at like brightness.
I am looking. I don't see color, so I don't know what you're talking about. But what I'm saying
is you're telling us right now that you see color.
No, I'm saying
that's what you're saying.
He's super white.
Yeah, and so if it was a low lumen bulb, it would probably be more of a
like
yellow.
A Ricky
and
Pearsall.
So you're saying that you absolutely
Ricky Pearsall, no lumens, man. He's rolling without lumen.
And so what we've toyed with some tiering of the lunch pail scale. We've toyed with some tiering.
To Pearsall, it's like Pearsall can dance at a wedding.
I think those. Yeah,
you know what I mean. He'd be like, "Whoa, look at
because
him
I think we have to bake production
Hibner
into
can't
this, right?
Dance at a wedding.
High lumen is hard nosed and productive. Low lumen is soft and not productive. And then there's tiers within there, right?
Okay.
So the bottom of the scale, low lumen, zero productivity, we call those guys the bento boys. They don't have a lunch pail. They're bringing one of these fancy little bentos that they got from Winners or Marshalls, They're not embarrassed to show up with it in front of the boys, but the boys are wondering why the hell he showed up with this bento box. At the top of the scale, high lumen, high producers, these are the lunch pail princes. There's not that many of them either. So I think we need to be really careful how we are dishing out that label because it needs to have some prestige. But I think one of the sliding tiers that we talked about, guys, and this is where a guy like Pearsall, this is where a guy like Alec Pierce comes into play. Maybe some of these more swaggy whites, if you will.
Yes.
We're calling them the Louis V lunch pails. So they have lunch pails and they can still be high producing and high lumen, but they also may have a little bit of swag or Louis V on their lunch pail as well. Okay. So I see Pearsall as kind of a low lumen, low producer, but I will give him additional points for having a Louis V lunch pail, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. If you
doesn't make sense, Trav. I mean, nothing has made more sense.
If you made an X and a Y axis, right? The X axis is the lumens, and the higher you are in the lumen scale, that's just how hard how hard of a player you are, right? Like what a badass you are, right?
Yeah. Like Scatabo is the poster boy.
Gotcha.
The Y axis is the type of lunch pail, right? So it's not necessarily good or bad. That's more like the personality, right?
Yes.
Like, someone's like Yeti lunch pail, they're probably, a 15,000 lumen as well. That's like the Kittles that I'm talking about, right?
I like this.
Or,
okay. So both of my idea falls on the type of lunch pail, not on the lumen.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Correct. You cannot be having a bento box that was purchased from Avon. If you have a bento box that was bought from Avon, we do not want you. Yeah.
Like a 12,000 lumen but bento box lunch pail is like, think Gary Barnage if you want to go
nice, man.
Right? Like we're just like, listen,
nice.
That lunch pail's not that cool, but that motherfucker's hard.
Right? Yeah,
right.
Like Peyton Hillis. Peyton Hillis fits into that category as well. Yeah,
exactly.
Both from the same team.
Like, I'm not digging the lunch box, but I'm not going to take anything away. Like that's
He's getting it done, but come on,
respect.
Yeah.
Respect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That
I
was
can.
great, boys.
Yep.
Yeah, more to come. More to come. We might even have to get Coder on the case for something here.
Hard hitting analysis. I cannot wait for. Yeah, I can't wait for the Lumen lunch pail model.
Yeah, we'll throw in the Lumen model, free with the full purchase of the 4 other models. Yeah, you get the Lumen score for free.
We should talk about some of the tight ends of the Senior Bowl.
Oh my God.
We did. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned them, brother.
We did. Yeah, lots of lunch pail there. Couple more wideouts here. Just want to talk about two more here if we could, guys. Wan'Dale Robinson, New York Giants. We've talked about him as overachieving over the last couple of years, and I think he might get some money. I don't know if it's going to be back with the Giants considering a new regime there. I do like the continuity and kind of the complementary nature of him beside Malik Neighbors. But are you guys maybe hopeful for Wan'Dale, or do you think maybe this was just the perfect storm for him the last couple of years, especially with Neighbors' injury this past season?
I think he's good.
To me, it all depends on how much we see him outside. Just last week, we were talking about the demise of the slot receiver and how we're not betting on that profile anymore. So we need to see the versatility that we saw last year expanded. So he actually gave himself a lifeline with what we saw last year. I think with Neighbors on the team, that's diminished. They're also, from everything I've been reading, pretty good candidates to be taking a wide receiver in the first round, which would further, sort of diminish the need for a Wan'Dale Robinson.
Right.
So I don't know where he's going to land. It's just there are too many unknowns and what that role is going to look like, but it's not the kind of profile that I bet on for sure. More so now than ever. I'm not interested in the Wan'Dale Robinsons. I'm not pursuing them. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, if you told me he was back in New York with Neighbors and Dart and Scatabo, and they don't draft a wide receiver in the first round, I'm interested because I think the situation opens up for him. But the problem with Wan'Dale Robinson is even if he gets a little bit of money, the situation doesn't necessarily open up for him. We've seen this time and time again with wide receivers of his ilk, where they'll even get the contract, go someplace, and it's like, yeah, it didn't work out because of course not. It's not that clean for a player like him. It doesn't just, the seas don't part for Wan'Dale Robinson. And so for those reasons, you got to be very, very careful. But I still think he's good. Like, he proved that he's good. So, I mean, I do think that it's possible that he does return value. I don't think he's dead.
Yeah. I think next one.
Where could he go that you would even be interested? I'm just looking at teams, right? The Commanders, maybe.
Yep.
The Saints, maybe. I don't know.
I think your point back with the Giants.
I think your point holds true, man. It's going to be way too easy for any of these offenses to just pigeonhole him in that slot role, right? I think the likelihood of him getting any role outside of that, like you guys are mentioning, is so low that, I mean, pick any team, and I'm probably not going to like it. Like, no, it's just,
no, it's pretty ugly. I mean, you can look at, like, if the 49ers kind of Steelers,
I was thinking
possible.
When you were saying Pierce, I was thinking 49ers. It could be kind of interesting for him because they are kind of needy, but that might be the only spot.
Pierce,
Wan'Dale,
Pittsburgh too, yeah. I mean, there's not a ton of open spots. I mean, obviously the Patriots have an open spot, but again, he's Pop Douglas. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like, I mean, maybe he's better. I don't know, but you're right. It's like there's just not a spot where he's like, fucking Wan'Dale Robinson's there now, so clear out.
Totally.
Just that's the point. So yeah, you've got to be almost selling at this particular point because it's a thin draw.
So this guy, I think over the course of his entire career, has seen a ton of value volatility. And I think we might see a little bit more of that as he comes through free agency. Also playing potential Super Bowl winner, Rashid Shaheed. Sorry, Jax. Sorry. But I think potentially. Yeah. I think he is going to be an interesting case on the free agent market because he had, that spike weeky rookie season with New Orleans. Played 6 games in 2024, and he was awesome in those, like ripping off 17 plus PPR point games in most weeks in that season. But then he missed the last 10 games, came into 2025, rough sledding with the New Orleans Saints, came to Seattle. Everybody was super optimistic, and that was a massive trade bust as far as fantasy gamers. Probably has done much more for them from a real football stance, though, is
For
having him
sure.
in the offense, clearing space for the other guys. Like, I think it was a great acquisition for them, but for what fantasy gamers were expecting, it was
Terrible.
definitely
Yep.
lackluster.
Yep.
Jax, I've not been necessarily a Rashid Shaheed guy. I just think the profile is so weird that he has to be used so specifically by the right play caller that I'm just not necessarily down. Where do you sit on that?
I think he's underrated. I think he's very good
Yeah.
football player. I think that they're kind of crazy not to use him. I mean, to me, it would be he's just awesome. I think he's really, really good. I think he's kind of he is the guy that could actually carve out some space. I mean, he's a little bit on the Alec Pierce, deep threat guy, phylum where it's you do need to have a downfield thrower, but he does more than that because he's so dangerous with the ball in his hands. So he can sort of do it all. I think the thing he does best is stretch the field, but he also is jet sweep, funnel screens, things like this where you can just get him the ball and then he can make a big play. He's not a bad intermediate wide receiver either. It's not like,
That's right.
dude, he can't do that. No, he proved he could do that alongside Chris Olave when they were a 1-2 punch. And of all people, Derek Carr was feeding the ball. I mean, they really were pretty good. And I really think Rashid Shaheed in the right system, just where he's the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 2B, as long as he's not going to be the wide receiver 1 for a given team. But look, as the second or third target on a team, I think he'd be really, really dope. And you do need a passing offense. Our whole issue with going to Seattle was they don't throw the football. And when they do, 40% of the passes go to fucking JSN. And, so it's just, there's not enough there. And Cooper Kupp was there to sort of blot out the rest of the targets and not really create an open space for Rashid Shaheed to step into any meaningful target share. So that never was really going to work. But there's some spots where it absolutely can work for Rashid Shaheed. So Washington being one of them.
Oh, no. Guys,
No.
I'm gonna look into my crystal ball and I'm gonna tell you the future right now. Rashid Shaheed, 2024,
Patriots.
played under Clint Kubiak.
Ooh, there we go.
Rashid Shaheed, 2025, traded to the Seahawks, playing under Clint Kubiak. And yes, JSN
It's
stole
happening.
the whole show,
That's a good
but he's
call.
a free agent.
That is
The
a
head
good call.
coach is going to a new team,
I like this.
What
and
team,
that
Joe?
team has a huge void at wide receiver.
Yes.
The
biggest void.
He's going to be the de facto wide receiver 1 as of the day he signs for the Las Vegas Raiders. But Rashid Shaheed on the Raiders makes all the sense in the world. He already knows the system. He's the perfect guy for Kubiak to bring in, a guy who he, pounded the table for Seattle to go get once Horton was injured. And that also frees up our boy Horton to do his thing in year 2, which I think we're all hoping for.
Yep, I like this. Yep,
I
good
like
call.
that
And that is a huge W for Shaheed because he becomes the wide receiver 1, and they probably go try and find some other way draft or however
I think
else.
he's the wide receiver 2 behind Brock Bowers, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
And
that's
that's
the wide
perfect.
receiver 1 ever. Exactly. I think that is really
exactly
nice. Yeah.
Clear out
I like
the
it, Joe.
field for Bowers to work underneath and for Janty.
You got me. I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in for that.
I'm getting guys. It's kind of scary. I haven't had hope for a long time. You have heard me for the last 2 years complain about what the Raiders are doing, but now we got the number 1 pick. I'm talking myself into Mendoza. We got some
fun young coach.
Yeah, we're
nice.
getting. I mean, it's not done yet, but we're getting the good coach for once. I don't know.
Keep negotiating with him. Send him a lot of emails about what he's going to do when he gets there. As many distractions as possible, please.
You want Shaheed? Yeah, we'll sign Shaheed. No problem.
Jax, so you were excited to get into the next position. I'm just going to step back and let you fly into the first guy.
I mean, look, it's Kyle Pitts and Isaiah Likely, and one of those two guys is very likely to be the tight end for the Stefanski-led Atlanta Falcons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if
Probably
this is Kyle Pitts and he stays there, how high are the wheels on Kyle Pitts? And if it's not, and they do go ahead and sign Isaiah Likely, how high? I mean, Isaiah Likely becomes a top 12.
Compared to me, how high?
I mean, not that high. Come on. But top 12 tight end, right?
Yes.
Yes. Kyle Pitts is going to be a top 12 tight end in my
No,
rankings no matter what.
likely.
Oh,
If
likely.
he signs in Atlanta.
In Atlanta,
not
I think in a bunch of spots, he's probably that. You know what I mean? I think a
But
bunch of
in
spots,
Atlanta,
he's
yeah.
probably. But Atlanta is a great spot for him. I think they'd probably be more likely to bring back Pitts potentially.
think so
But I
too.
think that's going to be a good spot for the tight end. Quarterback play dependent, of course, but we do trust in Stefanski where the tight end is concerned. Joe, you got any other spots?
For Pitts, yeah. I mean, I think the most likely outcome is that he just gets tagged, just like so many of the guys I've talked about this evening. For likely, I'm gonna tickle Coder's fancy here and say Kansas City is where we want to see likely end up. The successor to Kelsey. We don't know if Kelsey's coming back, but they want/need a tight end like that on that team. I think that's kind of the nuts landing spot for likely.
Yep. Bengals would be kind of sick. Bengals would be kind of nice as well, but you know, they already got Mike Gesicki, so they don't really need anybody.
They're spending too much money. They can't go spend money on a tight end.
That's true.
They
They
don't
can't
have any money.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's going to be like those are both two guys that we really like. Likely is young, and we haven't seen him fully in that number one tight end role, so that's kind of like a excitement of the unknown. We've seen him in spurts with the Ravens, but I'm excited to see that for sure.
What about the 49ers? What about the 49ers for likely as well with Kittle
injured?
Recovering from the Achilles? He might be ready for the season or, at some point next season, but he's not going to be close to himself, and they need that tight end in that offense too.
And the heavier sets, boys. Multiple tight ends are going to be a thing now, so we're probably going to be seeing teams signing more high-profile tight end twos.
I think Isaiah Likely is clearly a buy right now because whenever and wherever he signs will be another spike in value.
Yep. For somebody who has seen a myriad of spikes in value over the years.
It's true.
This might be it. I like it. All right, boys.
Then he just re-signs in Baltimore and crushes everybody.
Fuck. Yeah. Thanks
just
for that.
7 more years behind Mark Andrews. I'm good, man.
Mark Andrews is the new Zach Ertz.
Yeah, right.
Totally.
He permacucks Isaiah Likely for the interim. That's great.
Yeah,
just lovely. All right.
All right, boys.
Wait to be back on this episode in a month and a half and see how right or wrong we were.
Totally. I think this was super fun to get into. I have to say, while we were talking Senior Bowl, boys, it felt really good to hear you guys just talking about traits, talking about potential draft capital, talking about all the nitty-gritty shit that we're going to be getting into over the next few weeks and months in the draft streets. So I'm really excited to do it, boys. And like I said, it felt good to hear you guys starting to get into that stuff, and it made me want to dig more into my rookie process as well, so I can start talking about some of these traits too. And so with that, this has been another episode of The Underground. Super thankful for everybody listening. Check us out and subscribe on that YouTube channel. Find the audio on the Player Profiler Network, and just stay tuned to the socials for all of the big stuff that we've happened. We kind of went into it last week. This week, we stuck with the content, and we'll probably do so unless we have big updates coming. But keep an eye on the socials for what's happening, because we have a lot of fun stuff coming by way of the website when it launches. So for the wise man, Jax Falcone, in the comfy confines of House Kuvetakis,
Low res Joe
Kuvetakis. I am Trav. For the rest of the OTC crew, we will see you next week. Peace.